Okay, we are live at our special meeting of council today, Thursday, March 21st, 2 p.m. I'd like to welcome members of council, members of our management team, and our guests in our council chambers gallery. Welcome everybody on this beautiful Thursday in Stephenville, Newfoundland. I think we're getting Sheila's brush over the next couple of days, but shouldn't last too long. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before I ask for the approval of the agenda, I always like to do a land acknowledgement, which is very important for our culture and part of our reconciliation. We respectfully acknowledge the town of Stephenville as the ancestral homeland of different populations of Indigenous people. We also acknowledge with respect the rich histories and cultures of the Beothuk, the Mi'kmaq, the Innu, and the Inuit of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. I would ask a member of council that we open up the meeting as the agenda as circulated.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Tom O'Brien, seconder.
Seconded.
Second, Councillor Maurice Hines, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, be it resolved to, we just approved the special public meeting today. Summary of the requirements of this meeting. As you well know, with municipal affairs, we try to be guided by municipal affairs on procedural process. And sometimes they make recommendations to management. Management brings it to council, and we make those adaptations to it. And this is a requirement today. So it is required to consider the following resolutions of the town council of Stephenville for ratification of the approval to appoint the following management positions, which we did at the last public meeting, but it required a 2-day special public meeting rather than a special meeting. This is to bring forward 4 specific itemized resolutions which follow below, related to previously approved management positions.
Yes. And Mr. Mayor, as you noted, the end union is inside that.
Okay.
That will be removed, and we thought one of the positions that was a union position had to be also, but we were instructed otherwise, so we've now since removed.
Yeah. And just
number 5.
And just for the people listening in electronically, our gallery and new members of staff and council, council approves management positions where most of our employees are unionized. We have 2 unions, the firemen's union, fireperson's union, should I say, and Nate for our administration of public works. Normally union positions are hired through management. Council has no part to play in union positions, only management positions. So the appointment of the below noted positions was subsequently ratified in the public general meeting of the town held on Thursday, March 14, 2024 for 3 of these positions. The other management position, number 4, was hired around the same time. However, there was no mission in getting the council to formally approve that role being filled in a hiring resolution. So today we are to have the procedure followed. Per discussion with municipal and provincial affairs, the appointments are required to be dealt with separately and in a form noted below to meet the requirements of legislation. And this is good because I've been here for 6 years and different managers have come forward, and I've never seen it in a clear motion per person in this document. So give credit to the management team for putting that together for us today. The voting requirements of council are listed for each position in the preamble of the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, just to go back to what you said, I mean, council has to do this for the management positions. For union positions, council doesn't get involved in, gets hired for the positions. Council gets involved in how many positions we will have. So the council does have an input into how many staff members we have.
Yeah, management will come whenever any new hiring is happening, whether it's the fire department or public works or administration or tax departments. Management always will come. We don't directly get involved. It's not a decision of council. It's not at our executive level. So good point, Councilor.
Yeah, we just approved those decisions. Management takes us from there.
So we're on page 3 now for resolution number 1. This requires 2/3 vote of council for requirements. It is hereby resolved to appoint James William Frederick Bill Ramsey as Chief Administration Officer of the Town of Stephenville. resolution, and I would ask at this time to have a mover.
So
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow,
second. Second?
second by Councillor Aylward, Laura Aylward. All in favor?
Aye.
Conjure mine?
Just
One.
a minute. So, no, sorry,
Okay, yeah.
apologies.
Okay, the motion to adopt a resolution is hereby approved as a consensus of council by a vote of 7 of 7.
No,
No, not a consensus, not a consensus, no.
no.
Consensus. Not a
So-
consensus.
Maybe I can just
Okay,
assist.
this is the first time I've seen this format.
Okay, so basically you've moved the resolution, you've seconded the resolution, and now there's a point of debate where it can be debated. Or if there are questions, those questions,
Okay.
if they're appropriate for this forum, we can deal with them. If not, they can be dealt with in a private or privileged meeting.
Okay, just like
town's hiring-
our general meetings.
So town's hiring policies will follow.
Okay, so we do have a mover and a seconder. Question?
No,
No?
just your debate.
So
We're going to put the question afterwards, after the debate occurs.
Yeah, okay. So
the town's hiring policies will follow.
say again?
The town's hiring policies will follow
Yes.
to hire a citizen.
Were they followed towns?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the position was budgeted for?
Say again?
And the position was budgeted for?
The positions were
Yes.
budgeted based on requirements of additional revenue coming in 2024, yes. In our $10 million budget, our deputy CAO was something that.
No, no.
No, you just got with this. Oh, this one.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right.
Yeah,
So did you get all in favor? Unanimous?
No, you can put the
We did.
question if there is no more debate.
Okay, yeah,
no more debate.
okay.
All in favor once again?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And the votes, those in favor is if.
Unanimous, yeah.
7, okay.
Okay. Get ready for a second. Yeah. Okay, so resolution number 3 on page
Resolution number 2.
Page 3 it is.
page 4,
Page 4. Page 4, yeah,
resolution number 2.
yeah.
Okay, simple majority vote of council is required. It is hereby resolved to appoint Candace Simon as Deputy Chief Administration Officer of the town of Stephenville. I would ask a member of council move on this resolution.
I so move.
Moved by Council Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow.
Same two questions.
Okay.
Same two questions.
Same two questions.
Debate of the motion.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to debate?
I'm just making note of.
Yeah.
No, but the town's hiring policies will follow in this regard too.
Hiring policies was followed under legislation, yes.
Okay. And the position was budgeted for?
The position was budgeted. When we looked at our review that came from LW Consultants, they recommended that we would have a deputy clerk into the 2024 budget. Council decided that the requirements was more aligned with a deputy CAO rather than a deputy clerk because of the high level of the files. Deputy CAO would actually support the clerk along with our communications person to take the strain off of the workload for our town clerk. And we mentioned this a few times, I guess, in some previous public meetings, that we get a lot of, since the new legislation has changed, this code of conduct is placing a lot of workload on our management and staff. It could be estimated that a council of this size with the scale of code of conducts coming in, and remember these code of conducts, 99.9% of them are thrown out by investigators because they're frivolous. But it costs us the taxpayers money. It costs money to hire investigators, but it also costs our administration time because time is money.
So
We're
the,
working
so,
on these, right?
so the question,
So,
the question is,
yeah,
Question is,
the dollar value of this position put in the 2024 budget that was submitted to municipal affairs.
and we increased our budget from I think last year, 9.5 to roughly 10 million this year. We knew that we had to have additional management. We knew the
Yeah,
files were
but
coming.
they're saying, but it's put in, that was the budget that was submitted to municipal affairs, so it's in the budget.
so for clarity, this position, the funding for this position is identified in 2024 budget.
Well, I'll have,
Yes or no? That's all I'm asking.
we as a council knew our budget was increasing. We knew these positions were coming. We did the first round of hiring. The appointments for additional people were coming in. And it is identified in a budget line somewhere. We'd have to get the clarity from the management for that, because I don't have the budget in front of me.
And we'll get all through, I mean, I asked that for in our last general meeting, you're gonna get all that information from me. anyhow.
And I'm, you know,
Yeah.
going through the budget now, having just received it last
Yeah.
week, to go through it and make sure that
Yeah.
the budget line items have adequate budget to cover these management roles. And so I can't say at this point that it's not done on a line item basis, it's done on a global budget basis. And there's no specificity on positions, but again, I'll make sure that that information is provided to councillors in a finance meeting as we get the information put together to one of our finance committee meetings.
And the other thing that was brought up at our last public meeting is that we have legal teams working sales agreements that's going to bring in approximately $2 million of extraordinary or additional revenue that we didn't budget in 2024. Because until you get the check, you couldn't. But there being, that's a legal framework that was through the provincial government. And then there's one that's private. So one is public, one is private. So we anticipate those legal transactions are going to happen and that additional revenue will come in. And but when they come in, that's a separate line item that'll come into our revenue stream. And that'll be the determination of our finance department, council and management team to decide what do we do with it. Do we spend some of it? Do we pay off debt? You know, whatever.
So,
Give taxpayers a break.
That's a possibility too,
Yeah.
right?
so,
Certainly, that was certainly discussed when we were making other decisions, for sure.
No, that's fine with the answer for the yes or no
mhm.
question, but anyway.
I might add, I was just speaking with municipal affairs just prior to this because of some of the other decisions that council has taken, and I'm trying to ensure that the approvals required to borrow and also changes that may be required to our budget to do budget amendments once we get consideration of those monies that we are expecting. So I'm trying to make sure that that's done because we can't really go ahead on these items until the agreements are in place and the money is ready to transact. But then municipal affairs has to be advised of the change in our budget position as well
That's right. Yeah.
for those new funds. But at this stage, until the deals are signed and approved, those monies have to be basically ignored.
Yes.
Unaccounted.
Yeah, and then amended that.
And for an example, from the financial management perspective, our big municipal capital works project this year is Main Street. I think it's $5 million roughly. So that means 20%, that's in our budget. But if we get that extra revenue coming in, we can decide that, can some of that money pay the 20%? And then you always got the option to borrow. And we're only at a 5% debt load when we went into 2024. So we're in really good shape for emergency conditions and so forth. So we had debate, all in favor.
Aye.
Dr. Mike? Carried 7-7. 7 others. Okay. Resolution number 3. Simple majority vote of council is required for this. Just out of clarity for the CAO, it's 2/3, which would have been 5 votes. For level management underneath the CAO, it's
No, it's
majority.
required by 6, actually.
Requirement.
I wouldn't give you your 2.
Oh, 6 out of 7. Okay. We always went with 5 out of 7.
5, yeah.
Are you on shaky ice?
Yeah. Good thing I'm wearing my pink shirts.
Yeah, we'll have to cross-check that. We always got 5 out of 7 from the clerk before and the manager, so check that. Okay, so it is hereby resolved to appoint Mr. Matthew Sims as the manager of planning and development of the town of Stephenville. Resolution is moved by, can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Maurice Hines,
Second,
Councillor Tom O'Brien.
same, and the same two questions.
Same thing.
And same answer.
I could repeat them
Good.
again, yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah, yes.
Perfect.
Actually, the position in our engineering department, we were vacant a GIS person for quite some time. That was the unionized position that got filled. We were vacant a director of public works for a little bit. And we have a big responsibility when it comes to water and sewer in this town and all the services that we provide, whether it's recreation, roads, and so forth. But it was critical for planning and development because of the busy applications coming in with permits, requirements of RFPs, tender work. And that was identified in our LW, the structural plan that came through. So there's been some work done on structural plan and additional staff prior in 2023. Just like planning for the town's expansion, we've done some work with consultants to get us ready for it. So we have a mover and a seconder. Everybody fine with the questions? It would be the same answers. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. 7 of 7. Okay, I need a drink of coffee. Okay, our fourth position. They're all very important, but we've often heard about openness and transparency. We've done the best that we could do with the limited staff and the limited media resources, because like I believe Councillor Roberts, you said at the last meeting, we don't have radio stations anymore. We don't have weekly newspapers. We don't have daily newspapers, and Facebook is about all we got right now, other than some big
That trash.
media stories. But we do have a,
I got a newspaper on my mailbox yesterday.
what's that?
That's
not newspaper.
That's a trash. It's Stingray. And all ads, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Big full page ads, one of their own. They're the
So,
worst kind.
so this position actually enhances our ability to communicate and be more transparent, and that's critical. See, it's one of the greatest strengths of an organization. So a simple majority also required of this council to be official. It is hereby resolved to appoint Marilee Joy Castillo as the communications officer of the town of Stephenville. I would ask a member of council that we move to adopt.
I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White,
Second?
second Councilor Laurie Elward.
Same two questions. Same answers?
Same answers.
Okay.
Yeah. No other questions? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Carry.
But Mr. Mayor, I mean, we considered this and I voted on it all in favor of it all based on the answers I was given. Are you aware that there's a code of conduct and put forward questioning whether the town actually followed the hiring process and a grievance from the union?
I might,
Yeah, could you, I'm not aware.
again, codes of conduct flow to me.
Yeah.
And at this time, any code of conduct activity will go to a privileged meeting of council prior to council itself being brought into that. So the
Not for-
first person to be involved in this, in any code of conduct piece that I've had to handle directly, will be dealing with me first thing later today from council. So the process is that the code of conduct comes to the CAO's office. Then I will, depending on the code of conduct issue, it will then be dealt with in the fashion that the code of conduct is written. so that we do. So it's not a matter that can be dealt with here in the public forum at this time. Just a caution to that effect. There will be a report brought to council in one of our privilege meetings associated with matters outstanding, wherein you will be fully informed of any codes of conduct or other activity that is required to be to remain privileged until such time as it's brought forward to a public meeting for consideration of matters that arise from the privilege meetings associated with these items. So there are human resource issues involved that are not to be discussed at a public meeting until they're properly dealt with in a confidential forum because of the fact they are private human resource issues.
Okay, I'm not asking for it to be dealt with here, but when we're about to make decisions on stuff and there's something in the food chain that may or may not affect our decisions, like when it comes to ATIP requests and code of conducts, I realize when it comes to an ATIP request that we as council do not get to know who requested an ATIP application. What I truly feel is as soon as an ATIP request comes in or a code of conduct comes in, that we be advised as council that we as a town have now received an ATIP request regarding whatever the issue is. Doesn't make no difference who's requesting it, or a code of conduct. We have received a code of conduct regarding the issue.
I
It doesn't make no
understand.
difference who's from or whatever the case may be.
I understand your note, and again, we are trying to get up to speed on all of these items. The sheer volume of fire ATIP requests, and there were prior code of conduct requests in the past also, which council then, following being informed of them, to the appropriate council representative, which is really what will happen later today. And then following that, it is then dealt with, and there is a period of time in the code of conduct regulations that have been adopted by council for council to be informed as a flow from the private information that is disseminated or an investigation or other. And then it is brought at that point forward for council's consideration. So at this stage, even though it will be good for all councilors to know, I really have to follow the regulations exactly as they're provided to me. The actual council regulations may be available online. However, I was only able to get the actual copy that we follow this morning.
That's
Sorry.
valid.
Yes.
I just want to make just point out as well that, the protocol suggests that the code of conduct complaint goes to the CAO. In the event that it's a complaint against the CAO, it goes to the mayor. And if it's the mayor, to the deputy mayor, whatever, then there has to be some discussion. First of all, the person has to be made aware that the complaint is in. And then there's some discussion about how to resolve it and so on. So if I hear that there's one in and bring it to the table before the person has even been told that there's a code of conduct complaint in against them, I don't think that's
No,
what the process calls for.
But that's not what I'm saying. And I understand the ATIP requirements quite clearly, and I understand the code of conduct requirements
Well,
quite clearly.
you just said then there's a code of conduct complaint in.
How do you know that?
The person has been informed.
Yeah.
That'll be in your.
I didn't say no names.
No, but
How do you know there isn't? How do you know there isn't? Must have some inside information.
That's the way to keep to myself.
that could
Yeah.
possibly be resolved informally and not move anywhere. But by bringing it up here that there's a code of conduct complaint, now you've got a bunch of people who are all very interested in what it's all about and so on. And
It's not the forum.
I mean,
But time, you gotta get your training done, guys.
didn't say no names or anything else, and I brought it up, pretty openness and transparency.
Mr. Manager?
names.
Can I?
Yeah, just turn over to
Yeah,
to Mr. Ramsey, just for clarity on.
So here's the issue, as with any kind of potential investigation or other, if for example, there was a matter which is criminal or anything of that nature, your police force will not advise that there is an investigation ongoing because of the fact that it may potentially target someone who is a part of that particular issue that might be being discussed. It is the same thing with codes of conduct. The fact is, if it gets resolved and it gets dismissed or withdrawn or whatever might be the case, then the public interest is properly maintained by virtue of that not being revealed. So as much as I'll say to you, there is a code of conduct request, which I don't mind saying at this stage. It will be handled in the appropriate fashion. I may not, only because of the fact that Councillor has brought that up, that I will acknowledge there is a code of conduct request that was brought to me. I will deal with it in the appropriate fashion. And that's in a very open, transparent, and neutral fashion, which the position requires. And in this particular case, there are elements wherein that code of conduct may be withdrawn. I don't know. That's a possible resolution of it. And then in that case, it may go to a privileged meeting of council as to where that item may be withdrawn. But that, again, I can't prejudge anything. It is a process. There is a council passed in 2023 in January, the code of conduct for municipal councillors and the code of conduct for municipal employees. And on that basis, I'll follow those regulations that the town has. And as people are required to be informed, I will inform them, and a meeting will be called where those informations, to the limit of what I'm allowed to say, will be told to parties involved. So, and that's the same with anybody who puts in a code of conduct complaint or otherwise. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's time that the 3 new councillors get that code of conduct training.
Yeah.
Because we don't want this happening. Some councillors coming to the table saying, oh, there's code of conduct. Most of the code of conducts that we've had have cost the taxpayers thousands of dollars, and it's for frivolous stuff. And not only that, well, look at the time that it takes. And most of the things were union things anyway, and a lot of times it was a person's opinion. When you get a 14-page document from a staff member with no headings or anything, 14 pages, where did that person do that? At home or at work? 14 pages. Took me a long time to read it, but it was all opinions. So I got to tell you that Mayor Rose is the mayor. And it's time that we start supporting one another and not coming in here to find out information from the staff. The staff are here to do a job, and they're not to be interrupted out in the parking lot or otherwise, because this is too foolish to talk about. We're not a bunch of youngsters.
No.
You know, we're a team. I've been on many councils with many mayors. And I'm telling you now, I'm not going to put up with a lot of this foolishness that's going on around the table. I'm not.
In response to that, Councillor Elwood, you mean I was elected to represent the people of the town. I don't just support someone for the sake of supporting someone. If council
Yes, you do.
support council, I'll support council. It's not even, I mean, I was elected to speak my mind, and that's what I fully intend to do. And I'll go back to what I recently said. I never use no names for me, but I think as soon as an make-tip request comes in or a code of conduct, it should all be made aware that this issue is on the go. No names.
Well,
Here now, but anyway,
let me just
I guess we'll just, but I'd like to ask the manager a question though,
Yeah.
to clarify something he said. He said, at some point, the code of conduct would go to the appropriate council member.
The
Designated.
so here's the way it works, and you alluded to this. So in the event the code of conduct comes in, if the code of conduct complaint was against the CAO, the mayor would be the person that handles the code of conduct complaint. In the event that it was against the mayor, the deputy mayor is the appointed person who would handle the complaint. In the event that it is any of the councillors, the mayor and the CAO are involved together in handling the complaint, okay? And any of the town staff members, it would be the CAO to handle a complaint like that. On the basis of past complaints. I know Deputy Mayor, you've been involved. If the mayor was the person that was the person, the complaint of code of conduct was about the mayor, then you would be the one handling it. So you have experience in that as well. I might just go back and advise that the municipal training that was mentioned in the discussion is the reason why we had to come back to this meeting. Because in the discussion about municipal training, unless I had a 2/3 vote, I couldn't do any municipal training,
Yes.
right? And it was also suggested that a training exercise would be brought forward by municipal affairs for the benefit of all councillors next week if necessary, to avoid having to go through the online training. It will be done in person for modules 1 through 4 of the municipal training exercise. That was what started us on the need for this, because, for example, the Deputy CAO has done all of the training. I haven't been able to do it with a 2/3 vote of council.
So Candace, you had them all completed? Yeah, so it was only last fall we completed, all of our council completed.
How many modules is there?
It's 5.
Yeah.
They're done in 3 sessions.
I think ATIP is 5, isn't it?
No, well, ATIP has its own separate
Yeah.
session. So there's 2 sessions, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So the training personnel from municipal affairs are willing to come here and do it in person for the councillors, those who have already done it, if they want a refresher, and the new councillors in person next week or the week after, depending on the schedule that councillors.
That's module 1 to 4.
That's modules 1 to 4.
What about
The ATIPA module will require a separate session with another from ATIPA that would handle that. Okay, so it was the offering of this piece of training and instruction on what we can and cannot do that led to this requirement for the additional resolutions.
And I will just say that even though a code of conduct come out and it was designed for what it is, for people to file a complaint. But municipal affairs is editing and changing and adapting the document. And that's going to change a little bit. How much is going to change? I'm not quite sure. But when it changes, municipal affairs will let us know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the requirements are somewhat unclear on resolutions, motions. I know that this council, when I was watching it, once I had agreed to take the position and I started watching your historical meetings online, I noted some revisions that you had to make to previous motions where they had been done and they had to be done over. And again, this is another one of those cases where a do-over was required in order to get us to this point today. So essentially that lack of clarity is something that we hope to improve as management's offering to council is let's get it right. And, and the team, you had a team here prior to the arrival of the new hires that were severely overburdened in work activity. And they handled a huge amount of activity themselves based on the fact that they had, all of these ATIPA requests, other prior codes of conduct, and limited number of staff. Basically, your clerk was acting as CAO and clerk with some help from the mayor as CAO and a small council. So that really did make a very difficult circumstance. So, and they've done an amazing job, that staff did previously, as I noted, was said in other meetings. And additionally, we've had other staff absences recently just because of illness or other that's really impacting us now. So we have new people trying to fulfill the roles and temporarily stand in, which is causing a lot of this. Like I say, the code of conduct itself, I was looking at copies of the government suggested code of conduct, but I only got the actual code of conduct this morning to be able to act.
And just before I turn it over to the Deputy Mayor Suthoff, so clearly, like for Councillor O'Brien, once you complete those modules, you will come to a determination from the training that when it comes, we can't bring that stuff to a public meeting until it gets to a point that the code of conduct is completed. We accept or not accept the investigator's decision, then it becomes a public with the details. So like for you to bring a code of conduct at a public meeting today, none of us council knew about that. The only person that would know about that is the CAO, because he's not allowed to inform us until it's too ready. So once you get that training, you realize that's like a human resource matter. This is not really for the public meeting, but that training will come, and not saying we remember everything that we get trained in, and but that'll happen once you complete the training.
But anyway, I'll just make the comment. First place I heard it was on Main Street, and then I confirmed that but Mr. Manager, CAO, let's get the training done so people can stop telling me I have to be trained.
Here.
Well, the thing about the training is that there's been some changes to the act.
Yes.
And that's surprising because they do what they want, the guys in there. But there's been some changes, and maybe I certainly would take the training over again, no doubt, because there's been changes. Yes.
It would be a full 1-day session, maybe
Yeah.
1 and 2 in the morning,
I might take a nap.
3 and 4 in the afternoon. And probably, number 5 could be arranged within a short period of time and probably online.
Yeah.
Because we have such a large number, 3 plus myself and some others in the organization that should be taking a tip as well as the other. We're going to encourage all of our managers to do the
Yes, great idea.
training, because it can be done online, and the better they are informed, the better they're able to serve the public.
I will also say too, for a little bit of a testimonial from outside perspective, that when we hired a professional HR firm, decided hiring additional staff for the demands of this town. When we completed the hiring, we were told by our former CAO and the hiring firm that the pool of talent that we received in the first round of recruitment was something that they haven't seen in a long time. We had some phenomenal candidates who were able to secure them. We are thankful for their abilities. Remember, right now, it's not an employer's market. It's an employee's market. And to keep and to hold on to professional people, it's about bringing a high level of respect into your organization, a high level of communication in the organization. But the respect has got to be full circle. And I've often said this to our management team: when we get the public upset with us, reflects on council. And then when council gets the public upset with us, reflects on management. So we're in this together, management, staff, and council, because our decision matrix, this is a democratic table, and majority wins. And all decisions made, the other thing, by previous councils or motions of councils, remember, they're made and have to be supported. And our goal as a new council is to move forward with an agenda for the future, the growth, and the development for a clean, green, respected, inclusive, vibrant community. So on that note, I'd ask member of council to.
Deputy Mayor Fowler.
Mayor, you have.
I just want to make another point around training opportunities. I think where possible, if people have the opportunity to do it face to face, do it face to face, because online involves reading and interpreting. It doesn't have, you don't have the benefit of some experienced person also giving examples and so on, which is where we learn some of the things. But the other thing you will discover is that face to face means that somebody else is giving you an interpretation of what you're reading. And as we all know, every different person has an interpretation, and sometimes they're not the same. And as a result of that, council wears a lot of things, procedural mistakes and so on. We move on the advice of staff, and I'm not throwing staff on the bus, because they move on the advice of people in government departments. And as you know, there's a lot of silos out there, and what one person tells you, the next person tells you something different. So we don't always get it right. It's nobody's fault necessarily, but I think we need to recognize that casting blame is not really a fair way to do it either, because we're all going on what we think is the best possible information.
I
Okay,
agree. I totally agree with you. I mean, personally, I would prefer the face-to-face
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
training as well.
Yeah.
And you mean that I very much respect staff in that and the role they have to play in advising council. The only thing is sometimes we as councils are not smart enough to listen to staff.
Mhm.
Okay, so that has happened in the past, and you got to remember, I was sitting at this table, 3 terms as councillor, 3 terms as mayor, observed the last few years, and times that's been the case. We haven't been smart enough to listen to our staff. So, but face to face, I much prefer face to face training.
And if I might, Mr. Mayor, the offer and exactly what you just said about training face-to-face, municipal and provincial affairs also feels it's better delivered in a person forum.
Perfect.
And on that basis, depending on the weather, I was told to try to schedule it for good weather because they had to drive it from corner. Anyway.
Oh, that's okay.
So we'll see, it's according to the, but anyway, we'll schedule something for next week. And hopefully I have to get the positive confirmation from the councillors as to availability. And then I will schedule it.
sounds good.
Hopefully at the latest Wednesday of next week, if we have a meeting on Thursday. So I understand we have the meeting Thursday.
We good? Sooner the better.
So we all come up to church on Thursday.
Next Thursday, yeah.
I just want, before we call adjournment, I would just like to bring the attention to a very significant date that's coming up, which is April 8th, which is going to be the total eclipse. And it'll only be the only time in our lifetime that we'll see it. And I'm not sure, do anybody know what time of the day that's taking place?
5 o'clock at night.
5?
Just after 5.
Yeah.
5 o'clock here.
Because now the other warning that's out from the people who know best is that you can get eye damage from a partial or a full eclipse. But there are glasses for that, and you know, maybe that's something our recreation department might be able to get some glasses for the school kids or something like that in the recreation budget. But I think it's worthy for everybody to experience that, because you'll never see it again in your lifetime. You know, so and apparently over Stephenville is one of the most preferred site locations in North America. The challenge is it going to be a cloudy day? So we won't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
But if we have a clear day, it's going to be absolutely unbelievable. So mark your calendars, everybody, on that note.
On a positive note, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate the YMCA on their 10-year anniversary. Just they passed. The Tuesday morning, I got a picture from a lady well known in town, Jackie Nipper, and said, "Can you believe this was 10 years ago? We need to do a retake." And yeah, it's been 10-year anniversary. So I ran to the Y and we done a retake. And I think it was only myself and you, Councillor Elwer, that were at the table when we went through all those discussions there. He went lobbying with the provincial government regarding the building when they closed it West Coast
Yeah,
Trains and everything.
we had a boat
Yeah.
on our hands, right?
I mean, the YMCA has certainly been a very positive thing in our community and got a great impact, a positive impact. So.
You gave me that thing. I can't say in detail, but there is some positive news on some funding for the YMCA, which will be the subject of a future announcement once council swing.
That's on that green sustainable energy transition, I take it. Yeah, okay, sounds good. We'll wait for that one. Okay, so I've asked a member of so moved by Councilor O'Brien, seconder.
Second?
Second, Councilor Laurie Elder. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, want to thank people in our audience and also the 79 attendees. We're growing in popularity. Like I said,
79.
Stephenville has become